Given the lateness of the hour, I want to invite Dr. Petros here. I'm going to ask you some questions. He was going to bring a brief greeting. Yes, please. Dr. Petros Vassiliadis has come down on the train from Thessaloniki. And you're going to bring some greetings from CMES, if you could explain what CMES is, and very briefly tell us what is the role of religion in politics in Europe today. You're going to talk about that more tomorrow, but I'm just realizing that it's getting late, we're beginning to flag, you've had a long day, so let's just make this a couple of minutes.
Okay. Dear friends, distinguished guests, let me begin my this last session of today's opening ceremony with the Paschal greetings. Christos Anesti, Christ is risen. And also I would like to express also my sincere gratitude to the organizers, both the Christian Political Foundation for Europe and the Schumann Center for Europe Studies, for organizing this year's conference on the general title, Hope in Times of Crisis. It is a timely and significant event that conveys a vision of unity with a sense of ecumenical collaboration and tolerance. This vision was first launched on a secular civic domain by the forefathers of the European Union, Robert Schuman most notably among them, and on the religious constituency, mainly Christian in those days, in Europe, by church leaders who established in 1948 the World Council of Churches. Driving force to promote this vision in the local majority church, the Church of Greece, for more than 2 decades, unfortunately as a lonely figure in a widely, even to our days, conservative ecclesiastical and social environment, a driving force was the late Metropolitan of Thessaloniki, the city I come from, Panteleimon Papageorgiou, 1902 to 1979, a close companion of the visionary ecumenical patriarch Athinagoras and the right hand of the renowned Archbishop of Athens in the period between the two wars, Professor Chrysostom Papadopoulos, who appointed him as the first director of the Apostoliki Diakonia, the first missionary organization of the Church of Greece. To revitalize this vision and further contribute to the ecumenical cause, a cause which Metropolitan Panteleimon was passionately pursuing, and for this reason he received the doctorate honoris causa from the universities of Thessaloniki and the Episcopalian one of the Philadelphia. A great number of academics, as well as some of his spiritual relatives and children, established to honor him the CEMES you are asking about, the Center of ecumenical, missiological, and environmental studies. SEMES is enthusiastically grateful to your efforts and especially to some of your affirmations, like the game is not over yet, and that if Europe wants to have a future, it needs a soul. More importantly, that you have asserted that Europe is in crisis and therefore something must be done. And above all, that Europe's economy needs a new paradigm. Last year, one of the SEMES's international consultations came to the conclusion that can possibly eliminate one of the obstacles, perhaps the main obstacle, that hinders a meaningful and effective collaboration between religion and the modern secular European partners, mostly anchored in the values stemming from the Enlightenment. We declare that the articulation of a theology of religions from a Christian point of view is possible, and that the interfaith dialogue, if it does not aim at an anti-modern front, and if religions work together instead of fighting one another, can enormously contribute to a tolerant, peaceful, just, and sustainable society. I will elaborate in more details our vision tomorrow, but tonight, at this solemn inaugural session, I would limit myself only to a very few remarks and points. First, we believe that religion is too important for human existence to be excluded from shaping the new Europe. In other words, to be excluded from politics. If religion is allowed to exercise its tremendous potential and power, it can not only bring back moral values in our continent, it can also recreate and originate new images of what it means to be human in a just, peaceful, and sustainable universe. Second, we believe that God in God's own self is a life, primarily a life of communion, and God's involvement in history, and consequently our responsibility for Europe and the entire universe, aims at drawing humanity and creation in general into this communion with God's very life. This ultimate expression of koinonia, of communion, and love through unconditioned interfaith encounter, the Christians in Europe nowadays believe and insist, must be transferred not as doctrinal statements, dogmas, or ethical commands, but primarily as a communion of love. This openness toward faithful of other religions, or the other in general, any other, including secularists, even the most militant atheists, is the new missionary paradigm we can offer to a disintegrated Europe. A Europe that is endangered at this moment by increasing skepticism, sometimes accompanied by fascist and nasty behaviors. And we have experienced this in my country, and I think this is true for all over Europe. Third, religion can be, in addition, instrumental in a further improvement of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But human rights are awfully ineffective if they are not accompanied at the same time by human responsibilities. Something that all three Abrahamic monotheistic religions are advocating, being convinced that, as the psalmist in his 24th psalm says, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. And finally, and most importantly, religion can help Europe to overcome the so-called economic injustice, a concept developed by the churches and the ecumenical movement in the last decades. By having studied during the last decade ecology and economy as two interrelated aspects of globalization, the Christian churches, I say, have come to advocate equitable sharing of resources and power as a faith issue, not as an economic issue, and essentially prerequisite for human development and ecological sustainability. More and more European churches now, at the dawn of the third millennium, realize that if they fail to address this ethical issue, they will surely lose their soul. And if that happens, no soul whatsoever will remain for Europe. With these words, on behalf of all my colleagues in SEMES, I welcome you all in our country, especially those coming from abroad and far away. And I wish you and pray for that this meeting will have a success. Thank you.